Sup y'all, I'm Andy J. Pizza. If you don't know, I am gonna start doing these little tiny videos to give you a little pep, as well as tell you about my podcast, Creative Pep Talk. I have a secret to tell you. I'm an illustrator. That's not the secret. I'm fine with anyone knowing that. But I'm an illustrator and I'm a podcaster and I'm a speaker and I'm juggling. I'm not a juggler as well. I'm not like also a clown, but juggling those things. And lately, it's just got me down a little bit and I've got to a point where I was really burnout. It's something I've experienced a few times. If you've never experienced it or you're not sure if you have, I would say the determining factor, the way that I know that I'm burnout is I quit caring about my creative work. I kind of feel like I can't remember why I cared about creativity in the first place, why I made stuff in the first place. I don't get, why am I hustling? Why am I doing all this stuff? Who cares? Why does it even matter? And when I get into that apathy, I know that I've burnt out. It's happened before. You know, a few years ago I did an episode on burnout, and that episode I really had this approach of be very afraid of burnout because it can have disastrous results. And I still think that you do need to be aware of burnout and be careful with burnout. But as I was doing this new episode, I ran into something that kind of changed my mind about burnout and how to think about it. So, as I was thinking about burnout, was thinking about analogies, and so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go research fire and and see what comes up. And so I started reading about fire and humanity's history with fire. And you might not know this, but fire and language are the building blocks of civilization. There has never been a human civilization without fire and language. And before we had mastered fire, we were at the mercy of the gods, bringing, you know, storms and lightning and just capturing fire in the wild. And when we would capture that fire, we have to be very careful to keep the embers aflame. So they would have to construct these boxes to keep the embers glowing, and they'd have to transport them from place to place and hide in caves from the storms. And they were just at the mercy of the gods, and they were at the mercy of keeping these found embers aflame, and it made them very cautious, made them very scared. And actually civilization couldn't start like that, and it wasn't until we figured out how to make fire all by ourselves and command fire when and where we wanted it to happen that things started to get interesting for humans in human history. And it started to change my way of thinking about burnout, and I started to think that those who are afraid of burnout are afraid of burning bright. And it's kind of like they're the ancient humans that were at the mercy of the muse, bringing inspiration, bringing that fire, and that we had to be very cautious and hide in caves and be afraid of storms. And what I've learned is, as a professional creative over the past 10 years, the only way to build a thriving creative career, a thriving creative civilization, if you will, is to command fire, is to know how to switch on the flame when it goes out, and to not be afraid to burn bright, to fearlessly burn bright, knowing burnout is gonna come. And when it does, not panicking, but knowing some tips, tactics, tricks on how to switch that flame back on. And so the latest episode of the podcast, episode 207, I talk about this idea, go more into that analogy, and also talk about what are the ways that you can switch on the flame when it inevitably goes out, because it will. I did an illustration for this episode, and it says something to the effect of, don't let burnout hold you back. Burn bright. You are not a cheap gas station lighter. You're a cool, fancy lighter that's refillable. So if you're experiencing burnout, or you're afraid of burnout, don't be. Burn bright. There are lots of things you can do when that flame goes out, which it will. There's all kinds of things you can do to get lit again. That terminology is for you kids. I want the kids to get into this podcast because I know you're gonna need it. So let's get lit, y'all. Know what I'm saying? Go check it out at creativepeptalk.com/episodes, episode 207. Thank you, and until we speak again, stay pepped up. Gotta turn off my own camera there. See ya!